Good to see you again. Welcome to our YouTube page. Today I'm going to be working on another palette knife painting. This is the next cityscape. Now this one already has part of it up. This is number 10. Ooh, number 10 in the series. Very excited about that. And for these, I do love to use leftover paint. I mean, what do you do with leftover paint? I make paintings with leftover paint. Doesn't matter what the paintings were before. It's my challenge to be able to utilize the colors properly. So here we go. Here's our painting here. I'm just going to bring the camera closer just so you can see before I start. Here we go. Now these are emotional representations. Let me just get my camera back in line here of how being in a city environment feels to me. This one's very vibrant. This is a very vibrant, warm picture with lots of reds, lots of oranges and yellows, and it almost feels like it's on fire. So maybe it's a little too hot. We don't want our city burning down here. But fortunately, I've got some cooler colors to work with. I have some greens, some blues, some pinks, some browns, some whites, and some brown yellows, and maybe that'll knock them down a little bit. I also have some other colors on another palette because I was working on another painting on my Facebook page. And if you want to check those out, check them out. Gulotta Studios, art by David Gulotta. That's on Facebook. That's my fan page. And that has links to my videos on Facebook. But I also have videos on my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/gulottastudios.com, and there you can also help support Gulotta Studios through even a minor donation. As little as $3 would be great. That really helps the studio function. But in the meantime, please enjoy this, and don't forget to subscribe so that you always know when the next video is coming up. I'm hoping to make these a weekly thing. I was gone this past week for a while, mainly because I had a minor surgical issue, but I'm doing good now, so I'm back in painting. Now I'm going to use palette knives, and these are not, as usual, the standard trowels. Now I love the standard trowels, but for this kind of painting I prefer this shape of trowel. We're also going to be using this spiky one. This one has a very slightly ridged edge. Let's see if I can get that up there. And a fan knife. So these are the ones I'm going to use today to try to bring in some different tones and colors in here. It's always good to start with your darks. You don't want to start with light colors, and this is because darks denote shadow, and shadow recedes. It's the absence of light, whereas light is the reflection of light bouncing off the highlights. So you want the highlights to be on top of your shadows and not the opposite. All you're going to get then is very muddy highlights and shadows that just don't look like they belong. So we're going to start with our dark colors. This is a nice dry surface. You can see, no paint on the fingers. Now, please do not touch paintings unless they are the ones that you yourself are creating. And if you're going to do that, please make sure that your hands are exceedingly clean. My hands were just washed. I wash my hands before I work with any painting. And that's just a good habit because it gets the oils off your skin. Now, an hour from now, I would have to wash my hands again before I touch the painting again, just because of the oils and acids in the skin seeping through. We don't want that on our paintings because it'll degrade the painting over time. So we're going to start with this one. What I'm doing is see, it's leaving these little line streaks here, and that's what I want. I want this one section to be darker. I don't want to make it too thin either. That's not good for this. There we go. Whew, piece fell off. There we go. Good, good. And this now makes a deeper impression here. Let's see if we bring that a little better there. All right. I'm going to also do the same thing here. I kind of like this mass here though, so I don't want to get rid of it. I just want to give it a little definition. You know, one of the things is a lot of people, what they do is they want a painting to be very pretty and very light, and so they avoid the dark colors. Big mistake, because without those dark colors as a contrast, your light colors are just going to appear washed out, and people aren't going to be able to see what you're doing because you've covered it up all with light. So we need some darkness in there. Don't be afraid of some darkness. Darkness is a good thing. It can be a guiding thing. It can be something that can really help a work. I'm also going to put some darks way up in here. I like breaking up some of these lighter areas with just hints of darkness. And again, we're just using the edge of the blade. We're not really smearing it all over the place, just the edge of the blade. We don't need a lot here to make our point. We just need just enough to define shapes. So we're going to move forward here with some more of this really dark color. It's always a risk taking colors. I have a student who's always worried about destroying a piece by putting in different colors. And if you're careful about what you're doing, you're not going to destroy anything. You're going to continue to create. And sometimes we do have to sort of destroy something in order to create something even better. So don't be afraid of that. All right, I got some more really dark colors here. Like I said, I was painting earlier today. So I'm actually picking out some colors, dark browns, and what looks to be some Payne's gray from earlier. I was doing that video demo. There we go. Oh, it's so good to be back in the studio and to be painting again. I really enjoy it. And I love the feel of the paint on the canvas. You know, to me, really loving the arts is not just, oh, I like to make art and I like to make pretty pictures. Although that has its validity. Don't get me wrong, that has its validity. But I think really to succeed in art, you have to really love the whole process. You have to love the whole thing. You have to be in love with the paint, with the feel of the paint on the canvas, with the feel of the brush or the knife. And you just have to be a lover of the work. Otherwise, what's going to happen is it'll be nice and all, but you're not going to get like really deep feelings from it. And people really respond to deeper feelings. And you see some of these building shapes have indeed come in a little better here. Now that I've started up with some of these darks. There we go. Got a little bit more here. There's a lot to do here. You know, this poor painting, unfortunately, also had a bit of an incident where it fell. Woohoo! Right off the easel. That was not a happy day for me. But that's all right. There we go. Okay. So now we've used our darkest color. I'm going to go to the next darkest one, which is kind of an olivey green. Like this olive green here. And I'm going to pull this in right where these shadows were as well, because green is the opposite of red. And it tends to knock it down, especially when mixed. But here I'm not so much mixing the green as I want that green to show that there's other structures and shapes behind this. And I want to break up those darks just a little bit to make them interesting. Nothing more boring than just straight old dark colors that just don't go anywhere in the mind and in the imagination of the viewer. You want to bring textures into play. At least I do. I like textures. That's just me. There we go. I'm going to bring that in. Oh, I like that. Nice. Nice and gloppy. That's good. With these cityscapes, I like the heavy textures that the knives bring, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these deep textures. And that's a hard thing to do, because, you know, we're always looking for what looks right and all of that. And sometimes a really heavy texture can be both a boon and a bane. If the textures don't flow right, what's going to happen is it's just going to look like a mass of colors that have no illusions of depth and no emotional statement at all. And I want to avoid that at all costs, of course. But I also want to make sure that this has points of interest. I'm going to clean off my knife for a quick second. Double check my greens here. Anything here worth using now? No, I've used up all my green paint. Get rid of some of this stuff that's dried up a little bit. All right. Now, my next darkest one is a blue. Oh, it's a very pretty one too. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I have to say I'm a big fan of Old Holland paint. And at this point, I think Old Holland knows that because I've mentioned them many times in these posts. And I really believe in their paint. I like their methods. I like the way that they produce their paint. I like the fact they're an old traditional company. You know, some people find traditional companies to be a little on the stodgy side. I find them to be more concerned with preserving the paint and how it's made than in being popular. I'm always worried about paints that want to be popular because sometimes that comes at the expense of the quality of the paint. You know, they're in such a hurry to make you buy things that you buy things you don't want. Oop, got a little bit of light color in there. That's all right. I'm just bringing these blues in here and there just to bring some points of interest. Now, this is not even close to being done, of course. This is a very early stage in one of these paintings. These paintings can have up to 10, 12 layers. I think this is just the third one. Yeah, this is the third layer of paint. So I've got a ways to go before this one's done. All right, scrape off all the excess that's half dried. You don't want half dried paint on a fresh painting, mainly because it's already started to oxidize and it could cause cracks and wrinkles that you don't want. So you don't want to do it. You got to be careful of that. All right, now I've got some medium colors here. I've got some reddish browns, which will fit nicely with what's already there. That's always handy. So I'm going to put that there just to define some of these shapes. Now that I've gotten some, there we go. Got some shadowy colors in there. Now I got to bring in some medium colors just to bring out the structure. Ooh, look at this. Some more of the reds. There we go. Yeah, see, this building's more in the background. I want to show that. I think this might be, I'm going to make that urban trees. You know, they have that on some of the sidewalks in some of the neighborhoods. My aunt used to live in Brooklyn, and some of the trees were just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you know, most people don't think city and think trees, but no, there are trees in the city. There are trees. I'm gonna go real quick to some lighter mixed colors. These are just like little leftovers. I love doing that because in some ways I never know what's really going to come out of this, and that's exciting to me. You know, I like that kind of excitement. There we go. I'm going to bring that gray in there because there's always some grays. There's always some grays with these big buildings. There we go. Got some stripy bits going there. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Here's a lighter color. This is yellow ochre. It's kind of a yellowish brown. And I'm going to reestablish some of the top areas here. And notice the colors are mixing right away, which is a real time saver. Look at that. Oh, yeah, that's going good. That's going good. Yeah, so I'm going to do that here. I'm going to bring some more of it over here, just to bring it in. Some of these colors are a bit much. I want to pull them into order. And we need just a little bit of order. If it's too chaotic, it's not going to look right. All right. Now I've got these flesh tones. Flesh tones are very interesting because they're also the color of various kinds of concrete. You know, I don't know if you've ever been on the FDR Drive in New York City, but you'll see a lot of pink concrete there. And, you know, that's the mineral content, you know, some iron in there. You know, impurities in the concrete kind of pinks it out. And I've seen more buildings with pink concrete than I care to think about. So, and I'm almost at the point where I'm getting to very, very light colors now, like this flesh tone. These flesh tones are beautiful for bringing out more high. See how they pop? Yeah, they really come forward. There we go. Let's get these streaky bits in there, like reflections, because the sky also has like a peachy quality. I want to keep that. And see, you just put the highlights right on, and it just bounces off there. It's beautiful. And I'll show you a close-up of that in a minute. You can see what I mean about laying in a highlight on top of your shadows, not the other way. All right, this one looks like it's about done. Hey, very good. I'm gonna wipe off the knife, bring out my other trowel, start clearing this off. There we go. Get the skin of that off. And of course, I'll be cleaning all of these knives with turpentine. I like to use turpentine. I know for some people turpentine is something of a bad word. And yes, it's not safe, and it's got, so I'm going to work on this guy a little bit. I think I'm going to switch knife. I'm going to go to this guy. And yes, it is true. Turpentine is bad for you. Don't drink it. You know, it's not safe. Then again, a lot of these paints are not safe too. Now for the skies, I like to be more chaotic. See, this is the result of it falling here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, terrible. All right. Goodness. I'm gonna scrape this up, get this going here. There we go. Yeah. And let's see. I've got, at this point, I've got some white, which I'm just gonna bring up in here. And it's almost like a smoky white. It's got some gray qualities to it, which is great for a city sky. Me and my friends used to take bets as to what color the sky was going to be from one evening to the next, depending on air quality. Ooh, we got some interesting colors sometimes, I have to admit. We used to get a little concerned. You know, what are we breathing here? I don't think that's changed that much. You know, you always hear how they've improved things, and I don't know. I don't know about that. The nice thing about this daggery looking one is that it can really skip around and make these beautiful flowing shapes without really disturbing the under textures. In fact, it'll actually bring them forward so you can see them better. There we go. I'm going to bring that in. So this way we have a much clearer view of what is sky and what is building. And that'll help with the next layer, because the next layer is going to be all about deciding upon the final texture of this sky and of the building. So right now we're just laying in colors so we can say, ooh, that was interesting. And it looks like there's going to be a turbulent sky. I like that. All right, let me just scrape this off real quick before I forget. There we go. There we go. Good, good, good. So reusing paint in order to create new paintings is a really good idea. This way, when you're finished, you're not wasting paint. Paint is expensive, especially good quality paint. So having projects that can use that kind of paint, used paint, is a really good idea. Really economical. So this is what we've done today. There's that sky. And you notice how the buildings are more clearly defined. And we have these deep shadows coming down to the base of the painting. So this is the next layer, layer number 4. It's already had 3 layers. Now it's got 4 layers. This area I think I really am going to make into those neighborhood trees. And we have these lovely apartment buildings in the back. So that's what we're going to do with this piece. And you'll be seeing it next time when I'm here. I'll be continuing this painting live, and I hope that you have enjoyed. So please hop on over to gulottastudios.com, check out what's happening. I have an audio blog there, and it has links to all the other areas where I do films and other bits, and I hope that you all enjoy. And thank you very much for joining me today. Have a great day of artwork and painting. Thank you so much.